Hi folks, we're going to take a look at page 225, 9b, which is a question similar to some of your homework questions. So in this case here, they give us an approximation for a cosine value of an angle, 3 pi over 11, and they want us to use this to determine the sine of 17 pi over 22. Okay, and here again, the implication is that you're doing this without a calculator, just given the information that you have. Okay, so first thing I notice is that they're giving me some information about a cosine value, and they're asking me to find some information about a sine value. So right off the bat, that tells me I should be working with some kind of cofunction identity. So either, a pi over 2 or a 3 pi over 2. Okay, so let's try to determine if there's a nice relationship between these two angles. Okay, so I'm going to start with this one here because it's the larger one. So I've got 17 pi over 22. And in order to compare these, it'll be nicer if they have the same denominator. So I'll write that as 6 pi over 22. Okay, and I notice that when I subtract them, I just end up with 11 pi over 22, which is pi over 2. Okay, so that means that 17 pi over 22 can be written as pi over 2 plus 6 pi over 22, or 3 pi over 11. And I think this is what's going to allow me to use one of my cofunctions. So here, let's start with sine of 17 pi over 22 can be rewritten as, so if I bring this to the other side of the equation, as sine of pi over 2, okay, plus 6 pi over 22, which is just the same as 3 pi over 11. Okay, but now we have a cofunction identity for this here. So again, if you don't remember it right off the bat, okay, think of this as your theta. Let's just draw ourselves a little picture. We've got pi over 2 plus theta. What's its relationship to the angle theta? Well, since it's sine of that angle, which is positive, it's going to be equal to the cosine of that angle there. Okay, so this can be rewritten as the cosine of 3 pi over 11, whatever that theta angle was. But wait a minute, we're given what, or at least an approximation for cosine of 3 pi over 11. We know that it's about equal to 0.6549. Okay, so here we see how we can take information about one trig ratio and determine some information about this other trig ratio. It turns out they had the exact same value. Okay, so just to recap, as soon as you see this combination of sines and cosines, you should be thinking about using a cofunction identity. And then from here, it was just a matter of figuring out how you could rewrite 17 pi over 2 using 3 pi over 11. And in this case here, you could combine it with pi over 2. Okay, that's it for this one.